Hey guys, what's up? My name is Mr. Spooky Jesus. My name is Mr. Spooky Panda, and so I found some pretty interesting tweets and all that stuff like that. I just found a bunch of shit that I thought was very interesting and stuff that should definitely be talked about. So I think the first thing first is to really address how I found what's going on here. This is a Mr. Beast thing. So firstly, I want to congratulate Mr. Beast on hitting 100 million, Jesus. 100 million subscribers. I think that it's a great milestone and definitely something that he deserves. I mean, he does a lot of good for his community and for other communities that he isn't actively in. I mean, he literally had people go over to Africa and make wells and stuff like that, which I thought was very honorable of him. And, so he definitely deserves all the stuff that he's gotten. There's no doubt about that. But what I have seen too is cancel, and he is now being canceled for a stupid video that he created that I thought was very good. And I don't mean stupid videos in a stupid video he made, but in regards to what the complaint was, what he's being canceled for, and the video subject matter, it is stupid. So he made a recent video titled 100 boys, 100 men versus 100 girls, or 100 boys versus 100 girls. Basically, the last to leave challenge, 100 of each are put into a red circle, and the last team to leave is, well... So when you think of being canceled, you might think of, oh, he must have done something, heinous. He must have, said something sexist, or he must have been rooting for, one team over the other the entire time and made it very well known. Just because, they're one gender over the other. You might think it's also something like, oh, he actively helped one team more than the other. And you'd be right to think that. You'd be right to think that that's maybe why he's being canceled. And again, while that may not 100% be a good reason as to him being canceled, as I don't feel that it is, it's his video, he can help whoever he wants, and stuff like that. It may be misconstrued as sexist, either in one way or another, and I could see why people would think that. But unfortunately, that is not what he's being canceled for. He's being canceled for the teams themselves. And now you might be wondering, oh, how could he be canceled for teams? It's boys versus girls. I mean, it's not that difficult. It's like, how could you be canceled for that? Well, unfortunately, the LGBTQ community did not take lightly to the fact that it was only men and women, instead of men, women, transgender, non-binary, gender fluid. And basically, they were very upset that instead of, the quote-unquote 72 legitimate genders, there were only 2 being represented there. And I can't really say with certainty that I agree with them. Again, first things first, this is his video, and for simplicity's sake, you want just 2 teams. You don't want to fucking take care of 3 goddamn teams, because 100 people, that is about 300 people, and that is extremely expensive to take care and maintain a group of 300 people, because you gotta think you gotta feed these people, and on top of whatever Mr. Beast does to with these contestants to make their lives easier or more difficult inside of these. So you gotta think that's $300 that you're gonna, not $300, that's 300 people that you need to pay for instead of the 200 people for the 2 literal genders that you're given to at birth. So while I feel that Mr. Beast is in no way obligated to, Mr. Beast is in no way obligated to make as all the gender signs. For all we know, he could literally just make one sign called men and put everyone inside of that man circle. Again, that might be weird, and I'm not saying that wouldn't be weird. I mean, having men, women in a circle called the men's team could be a little weird. It's just teams. It's not like one team's getting special privilege over the other. It may be seen that way in video format, but I mean, they're all getting fed. They all have humanitarian needs met for each of them, and regardless of what team they're on. So again, it's not like one team is getting an advantage or being abused over the other. They're both getting the same treatment regardless, because they're both met with humanitarian, needs. They're literally surviving. That is literally a need that both teams are being met with. It's not like one team is getting special treatment over the other. That being said, he's also not obligated to, conform to any social norms that obviously human rights is very different from wants. So while, yeah, he may need to conform and be obligated to make sure these people are fed and all that stuff, if he's going to, of course, host something like this, he needs to make sure that everyone is respected and, met human rights. He is not obligated to make sure that everyone feels comfortable in terms of mentality-wise. Now, I say that because, again, this is not something that he forces people to enter. They're not paying to be here. They were given an invitation to be here. And I feel like that's a big thing that many people don't understand, is that these people aren't being forced to be here. They don't have to pay to be here. They are literally just here because they were invited, for being subscribers, I imagine. I haven't watched the video, but I imagine that he didn't just pick people off the street and make them pay to enter in this thing. That's not something that he does. That being said, anything such as conforming to rules, such as making sure that gender is met and everyone feels safe in terms of gender equality and all that stuff, he doesn't have to do that. He's not obligated to do that because they're not paying for any services. This is his video that he's inviting these people to do anyways. He may be an asshole about it. I mean, it may be seen as an asshole move, and yes, I could imagine that, again, if he was doing that, he could absolutely be canceled for it, as, again, he does have a community that needs to be well maintained, because these are all children, or most of these are children that are very impressionable. What I'm trying to get at here is that the whole gender thing, where he needs to make these 40, or these, gender binary rings and all that stuff for gender binary people, doesn't actually have to be met, because, again, they're not paying for it. If they're paying for it, that is extremely different. If you're paying for it, I want to feel comfortable both physically and mentally. Absolutely. But they're not paying for it. They're getting $500,000 for absolutely free just by staying in a circle while they're getting paid to eat, while people are paying so that they can eat and all that stuff. They are literally taking care of these people, and all you have to do is stand in a circle. That being said, I do feel that, again, while there shouldn't be any sexual harassment or anything like that, I feel like in terms of making people feel comfortable and, in a non, I say comfortable. I don't mean they can go and make sexual harassment jokes and all that stuff and sexually harass everyone there. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is all the things that are not humanitarian needs, such as making sure that they're not offended by every joke that you say, anything that can't be misconstrued as offensive, or anything that's illegal. Obviously you can't do anything illegal whether they pay for it or not. Sexual harassment is definitely illegal, but something that's not legal, or something that is legal, like making jokes, he doesn't have to conform to everyone just to make those jokes. And that's just how I feel. In the same regard, making sure that each and every person who doesn't identify as a man or a woman does not have to have their own fucking circle. Gender binary people don't need their own circle. If you are a guy, get on one side. If you're a woman, get on the other. That is exactly how it is. One, because that is a safety issue. Because, again, just like the whole sexual harassment thing, if a female or someone who identifies as a female walks in the man's side and decides, yes, I am a man today, could definitely be misconstrued, and a lot of people can just go to the gender binary side, non-binary side, even if they are. So it does present also an issue of, well, who's telling the truth, and who's just going in there to hopefully sexually harass people and make fun of people that aren't, that don't identify as one or the other. So on top of that, he is actually conforming and helping people really just, not look weird. And then again, at the same time, he's gonna face backlash anyways, because the gender binary people don't win anyways. Someone's also gonna get pissed off. So really, there is no winning in this situation. It's more or less the lines of what community can I offend, or what community can I afford to offend. And he wasn't thinking that way. But when it's a lose-lose situation, especially with all these stands running around, this is very prevalent in the Fortnite community, the Minecraft community with Minecraft stands. It's always, who am I going to offend less, and still keep a nice reputation. And sometimes that just is something you have to look at. I want to talk about one tweet in particular. I'm not going to say their name, but this is, of course, on the incest-ridden Twitter, so you can imagine just how stupid most of these people are, and the reasoning behind what they do is just absolutely asinine. But regardless, let's just take a look at one of these, because I feel like it's important to look at these and look at the tweets that people send to really get a view on their side. Because again, me just talking about why I feel like he doesn't have to put in a 3rd circle, or a 5th circle, or a 7th circle, or a 25th circle, or 28 circles, it's not going to be impactful. So, someone tweeted, I've been a long time fan of Mr. Beast, but after the recent video titled 100 Girls vs. 100 Boys for $500,000, where he wasn't inclusive of the other genders, I cannot support this man any longer. I hope that others can wake up to this growing issue on the internet. And I just want to say real quick that it's fine not to support somebody who doesn't do what you want them to do. It is 100% okay and well within your rights to stop supporting anyone for whatever reason. You don't need a specific reason to not support anybody. What that doesn't mean, though, is that you need to post it online and ask other people to wake up to an issue that really isn't an issue. It's a goddamn circle. Regardless of what circle you're in, if you win, you're getting $50,000. He's not going to turn around and say, "Oh, you were in the women's circle, but you said you identified as non-binary. Therefore, you're not getting any money because you technically weren't part of the team." He didn't do that. Anyone who was in the circle at the end who won got the money. I mean, obviously it was split. Not everyone got $500,000, obviously. But what you really need to take into consideration here is the fact that they won regardless of what side they were on, regardless of their gender regardless of what they identify as, whether it be a fucking pancake, a tub of glue. If you're on the winner's side, you got money. So I'm not exactly sure what do you mean by inclusive really meant, because you were included. You were inclusive. You may not have been identified as you wanted to be identified as, but you were included. He was inclusive. He didn't look at you and say, "Oh, you're non-binary, so therefore you're not allowed to enter the game." In fact, you were still allowed to enter the game regardless. It didn't matter what gender you were. He said, I hope that other people can wake up to this growing issue on the internet. I want to know where on the internet this is actually legitimately an issue, where people just exclude non-binary people just because of the fact that they don't want binary people out there. Now, I understand there's definitely a lot of people on the internet, but I want to see where on this is growing. In fact, I believe the internet has become more inclusive over the years. Just because while some places have become less inclusive, more places are growing more inclusive. Okay, maybe not Chick-fil-A, but there are definitely certain places that are extremely inclusive to these people. I mean, just for starters, VR chat has become one of the most inclusive places ever. I mean, you have furries hanging out with anime e-boys. I mean, you have people from all walks of life coming in and just mingling with other people. There are many places on the internet that show a lot of inclusiveness, that really just take in anyone and are the nicest people I have ever met before. I may not be anything. I may just be a straight white male. So obviously for me, I can pretty much fit in anywhere, which I don't feel is exactly the most fair thing, but it's just something that happens. But the place I've seen the least amount of inclusiveness is LGBTQ communities themselves. Because they want to maintain this whole, straight people are bad. Now, again, I'm not saying this is with every LGBT community. I'm not going to generalize a whole group of people, as that's not exactly the most fair thing to do, because I know a lot of people are. But I have not seen a community less inclusive than the Call of Duty community. The Call of Duty community, I think, is worse, but that's only because it's dominated by, really young white boys that just don't know anything other than to say the N-word every 5 seconds. Other than that, the LGBT community has been the least inclusive community I think I've ever seen before, barring that of the furry community. Now, again, that's not to say that they're all inclusive, they're all exclusive. And I feel like there are a lot of places, again, like VR chat, that are extremely inclusive. And so I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying that everywhere that I've seen LGBTQ is exclusive. I just feel like most of the places that I've looked at, and that's the big thing I want to get into, is where you've looked. Because again, like I've said, most places have become more inclusive, but little places have small amount of places have become less inclusive. Now, this is again to combat that whole, LGBTQ is wrong, and you're gonna see most of those exclusive places to be churches or anywhere of any sort of religion, or anywhere really down south. Down south is a little less inclusive, and have kind of become more of a exclusive joint, just to kind of trying to keep back the times. And I'm not saying, again, that's anything good. In fact, I don't agree with it. I feel like everyone should be welcome regardless of their walk of life. But I do feel like, a certain extent, the problem doesn't fall under where of just the generalization, but where you're looking in the first place. I feel like there are many places that maybe this tweeter has found to be very exclusive. But the problem is you have to be looking in the right places to find this. And that's not something you can fix. That is something that will always be there. And that's not to say that that's the tweeter's fault in particular, because again, sometimes you can't find those inclusive places. Sometimes they're elusive to hide out from the people that aren't inclusive and don't want them raiding their community and making it a more of a hostile, less inclusive environment. And I get that. But unfortunately, you can't generalize the entire internet, and least of all Mr. Beast, who spends millions of dollars each year just to make people's lives more manageable, and cancel him for something that really and truthfully didn't hurt anyone. It didn't hurt you. It didn't hurt anyone inside the challenges because they got paid if they won. And really, it didn't affect anyone other than yourself because you're wrapped up in this bubble of just trying to expand your inclusiveness. That, again, that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that making the internet more inclusive is bad. What I'm saying is there are some places where they're already inclusive, but you're just not looking at it at the right angle. Mr. Beast is one of the most inclusive people because he literally goes to other countries to give people watering wells for places that don't have clean water. But you're going to cancel them over the fact that they didn't add a representation for your community. And that's where the exclusiveness comes from. The fact that if it's not about them, or if there's nothing about them in there, then they shun it. And that is where it becomes exclusive. LGBTQ community is one of the most infamous people for doing that, other than maybe PETA, because of the fact that if it doesn't have their watermark or their name or any of their influence on there, then it should be canceled and should be eradicated from existence. Again, I'm not saying this is the whole LGBT community, as I feel like there are definitely a bunch of LGBTQ people who still like Mr. Beast and didn't care the fact that they may not have been represented in this. And again, that is very admirable. I feel like there are some times where you can't be represented, and this is one of those situations because it's just not feasibly possible to pay for everybody if every circle gets 100 people. The problem is now is you're cutting off certain people from being able to play this game. As again, if you were put on one of those circles, it wouldn't have mattered in the first place. But now because we need 5 different circles, there are going to be less players involved. Not to mention, it's really hard to get in contact with 5 different circles of subscribers than it is just to get in contact with 2 circles of different subscribers. Because I think what they don't understand is is the fact that he needs to get in contact with these people. And because he doesn't know what gender you are until he asks you, or maybe he does, I don't know how he does it, but really finding 5 different circles of people with less people in each circle is much more difficult than finding 100 people of just 2 circles. But that's pretty much where I want to end it there. I just wanted to talk about my views on why he's getting canceled and why I feel like it's stupid. I really feel like Mr. Beast doesn't deserve to be canceled, especially after all he's done for the community that he lives in, as well as the communities that surround him, and then the communities that don't even impact him. I mean, Africa literally does not impact him in any way, shape, or form, because these communities are cut off from internet. They're cut off from everything. They don't even have running water, and this man literally goes out of his way to give them running water, when really he could have saved all that money and did something completely different with it. Because again, these communities don't affect him. So do I feel like he deserves to be canceled? Absolutely not, because he goes out of his way to do all this very special stuff, and stuff that not many people do. Our government doesn't do. You know, their government doesn't do. And this man, one man with a team of people and a lot of money, goes out of his way to make people's lives easier. And I feel like that's something that he shouldn't, like, he definitely should not be canceled for anything like that. He shouldn't be canceled for not adding a circle when he literally goes out of his way, spends money that he owns, like money that he rightfully deserves, to spend it on however he wants to. But instead of spending it on himself, he's spending it on a community that's not even the same fucking continent as him. And I feel like that's very admirable. And I feel like Mr. Beast is one of those people that just don't deserve to be canceled because of all the good he's done for his, obviously for his community, as well as the communities in other countries. Or other continents. Countries works too, I guess. But anyways, that's where I really want to leave it. So I just really wanted to talk about why I feel like Mr. Beast doesn't deserve to be canceled. And again, how he's not being very inclusive, although he is one of the most inclusive people I think I've seen on the internet in a very long time. And I just think that it's extremely awful of people to really try to cancel this man when he goes out of his way to make people's lives extremely livable and changes a lot of people's lives for the better. I mean, this man gives money to people to pay off their college tuition and stuff like that. Like, this man is, like, whether it's for a video or not, these are not expensive. Like, this is not expensive. This is not cheap. This is extremely expensive. So, yeah. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all later. Peace out.